Part 14. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 131. Chapter 131 Opening Location. After hearing what Zhizhong said, Yuan Xianglou felt relieved, as long as there was no problem with the mysterious pattern she had carved. However, while feeling relieved, he was also curious about what level of Xuanhuan master Zhizhong was, so he asked, "Can I ask, what level of Xuanhuan master is the prince?" Zhizhong glanced at her and said, "There are no specific levels of Xuanhuan masters. If two Xuanhuan masters want to know who is better, they can only compete. They carve the same Xuanhuan at the same time. Which one takes less time? Whoever has a stronger mysterious pattern will have a higher level." Yan Xianglou really doesn't understand the hierarchy of Xuanhuan masters. It turns out that this is how to distinguish who is more powerful. However, Zhizhong's words were equivalent to not answering her question, but she thought it was because he didn't want to say anything, so she didn't ask further. "I can engrave all the mysterious patterns in Jiyan." Zhizhong obviously thought that he did not answer Yan Xianglou's question, so he added another sentence. Yan Xianglou was extremely shocked. She had already seen all of Jiyan's tattoos. Although she had seen them all and memorized them all, she didn't know when she would be able to carve them all. Zhizhong can actually engrave tattoos. How old did he start learning Xuanhuan? However, when I think of Ji Seal as the Xuanhuan technique of their Ji family, it becomes clear that I should have started learning it from a very young age. She was a little strange. She had never heard that anyone in the Tianshun Empire's royal family knew the mysterious marks, let alone that the Tianshun Empire's royal family had the mysterious marks technique passed down from generation to generation. Did she understand it wrong before? No, isn't Ji in Jiyan the surname of the Tianshun royal family? Although she was doubtful in her heart, she didn't ask. She had to be measured in dealing with things. Don't be curious about things you shouldn't know. However, what she said to Zhizhong also gave her something to gain, that is, the way to learn Xuanhuan is not restricted, as long as you can carve good Xuanhuan. In this way, she doesn't have to worry about whether there is any problem with her tattooing techniques, and can focus on carving the mysterious patterns in her own way. He stood up again and said, "Your Majesty, stay here while Xianglou takes his leave." Zhizhong also stood up, "I want to go to the palace." Yan Xianglou didn't doubt that he was there either. The two of them came out of the flower hall and walked out of the regent's palace together. Although Xian was guarding outside, he was not close to the door, so naturally he couldn't hear their conversation. Seeing Zhizhong also leaving, he was confused. There were still many things waiting to be dealt with in the master's study. What was he going to do? "Are you sending the girl out?" It's not surprising that he used a skeptical tone. The key is that he has never seen anyone who can be sent off by the prince in person. Even if the old guys from the family come, he and Changfeng will send them out. However, he would not bother without a look. He glanced at Changfeng not far away and raised his eyebrows, meaning to ask why he didn't follow. Changfeng rolled his eyes at him. He was so indifferent. Didn't he see a lot of folders on the desk in the study? The master didn't say he was going out, so what did he do with him? Zhizhong sent Yan Xianglou to the door. After watching her leave, he did not go to the palace at all, but turned back to the palace. He himself didn't know what he was thinking, but at that moment he wanted to go for a walk with her. Changfeng and Xian saw him coming back and immediately understood that the master had really gone to see off the girl. After finding out her father's life experience, Yan Xianglou really no longer has any nostalgia for Tianshun Imperial City. However, it was only mid-August now, and there was still half a year before the Lingquan Secret Realm would open around mid-February next year. She didn't want to go back to Xianyuan sect, so she continued to practice at home, carve mysterious patterns and refine elixirs. However, She went out to practice once every 2 months, only to Wanghai Forest, and then came back after a month of practice. She stayed at home for another 2 months and went out to practice again. When she came back, it was at the end of January of the next year, and she was not far away from Lingquan's secret realm. There is only half a month left to start. She didn't go anywhere. She took a good rest at home and prepared to go into the secret realm of Lingquan to experience. It would be better if you can get the spiritual spring and the 9-leaf clover. The secret realm of Lingquan is an excellent place for training. It only appears once in 100 years. Xianxia continent is the lowest continent, and even monks only have a lifespan of 100 years. If you are born at a good time, you only get one chance to enter in your life. Many people do not have the opportunity to encounter the opening of the secret realm of Lingquan. Therefore, if you miss it, you will no longer have it. Yan Xianglue would naturally not give up such an opportunity, not to mention that she also expected to enter the secret realm and break through the second level of the Pangu flower blooming technique. Lingquan's secret realm is named after there is a spiritual spring in it. Although Lingquan is called a spring, it is actually only as big as the mouth of a bowl. The water drips from the rocks above. It takes 100 years for a bowl of water to drip. But strangely, there was a grass living in the puddle as big as the mouth of a bowl. It had only 9 leaves, so it was named 9-leaf grass. It is said that the 9-leaf clover has the effect of curing all kinds of diseases. As long as a person has a breath left, taking a piece of the 9-leaf clover can make him alive. If a person's cultivation level is completely destroyed, as long as the danshan is still there, taking a leaf can restore 70% to 80% immediately. The most important thing is that spiritual spring and 9-leaf grass can also detoxify hundreds of poisons. The hundreds of poisons here do not refer to ordinary poisons, but hundreds of strange poisons in the world. 100 is just an estimator here to describe as long as it is poison. There is nothing that spiritual springs and 9-leaf clover cannot solve. This is why Zhizhong must get the spirit spring and the 9-leaf clover. The poison on his body is the poison brought out of the womb. It grows with him and is equivalent to a part of his body. It can only be cured by the spirit spring or the 9-leaf clover. One of them is enough. If you have both, the effect will naturally be better and you will have unexpected gains. Such a magical spiritual spring and 9-leaf clover, no one who enters it wants to get it. But most people who go in have no chance of seeing the spiritual spring, let alone getting the 9-leaf clover. But it won't be in vain if you go in once. The spiritual energy in the secret realm is rich and there are many spiritual treasures. If you are lucky, you can get a lot of treasures. A month of training inside is better than 10 or even decades of training outside. Of course, opportunities and dangers coexist, and there are many people who go in but cannot get out. One thing is certain, after experiencing the survival of the fittest in the secret realm, many strong people will emerge in the Xianxia continent. Otherwise Deng Changs would not have told her not to miss the time to enter the secret realm. On the day she returned home, Chang Feng came and brought her news that the location and exact time of the opening of the Lingquan secret realm was known. Yan Xianglue said happily, "Where to open it?" Quifeng Mountains, 10 days later Chang Feng said. Actually in the Quifeng Mountains. Isn't it the mountain range she passed by when she came back this time? She also discovered a cold stone cave in the mountain range. What a coincidence. Thank you, Your Majesty. For me Yan Xianglue knew that Chang Feng would only come to deliver a message to her if Zhizhong spoke. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 132. Chapter 132, Being Disdained. Who is Chang Feng? The regent's bodyguard is his right-hand man. The only person who can instruct him to do things is Zhizhong. My master asked me to ask Miss Yu if she would like to set off with us, Chang Feng asked. Yan Xianglue shook her head and said, "No, I don't want to leave too early." Thank you for your kindness, master. Chang Feng sighed secretly in his heart. The master's journey to pursue his wife was slow. Master won't leave too early. Let's tell Miss Yu when we set off. If Miss Yu wants to go together, we will go together. Chang Feng was not stupid, on the contrary, he was very smart. He immediately left a way out for his master and went back to report to his master. Now he could no longer guess his master's thoughts. Miss Yu has lived in the imperial city for half a year. How come the master is so calm and calm? He has never come even once. Such a good opportunity to deepen the relationship was wasted by the master. However, they can only be anxious and dare not say anything. The consequences of interfering with the master will be UGE. After sending back the news that UGE participated in harming his master last time, UGE was imprisoned in the punishment hall by those old guys. I don't know what the consequences will be, but they all came out from there. Although he has never been in the punishment hall, but he knew that the cultivation level of the people who came out of the punishment hall had plummeted, and the torture they endured was extraordinary. The consequences of coming to UGE would not be good either. After Chang Feng left, Yan Xianglou was no longer in a hurry to practice, carve, or refine pills. She was almost ready to go into the secret realm to defend herself. What she needed to prepare now was to eat. She is not a person who is willing to wrong herself as long as conditions permit. So the neighbors on both sides began to live a miserable life. The reason was that the food cooked by Yan Xianglou was too fragrant, and she worked from morning till night. She was tempted by the smell of this delicious food all day long, but she could not eat a bite. Can it not be painful? Of course she had the nerve to ask for some food, but Yan Xianglou ignored them and refused to open the door no matter how hard they knocked. Having lived here for so many years, she has been ridiculed and bullied after her parents left. No one of them said a word to her, and no one helped her once. On the contrary, they taunted them more fiercely than others, and you could clearly hear their undisguised taunting of themselves in their own yard. They all regarded mocking her as a pastime after dinner. Why would she give them the food she cooked for free? Although most of them are ordinary people, this has nothing to do with your cultivation level, but with a person's character. What she despises the most is this kind of coward who is too soft to bully and afraid of others. After cooking for 7 days in a row, even if she puts it in a storage ring alone, it will not break or even get cold. It will be at the same temperature when she puts it in and takes it out. In this way, she will stay in the secret realm of Lingquan for a month. No need to worry about eating. There are still 3 days until the secret realm of Lingquan opens, and Yan Xianglou is not in a hurry, but Chang Feng is coming again. Miss Yu, my master is leaving for the Qifeng Mountains today. Do you want to come with me, Miss Yu? Yan Xianglou shook her head. I'm going to go tomorrow night. Chang Feng twitched the corner of his mouth after rejecting so bluntly. There was only 1 day difference between today and tomorrow, so let's go together. The master was so late because of her. Did she not want to go with the master? Is the master being disliked? I have to say that Chang Feng has found out the truth. It's not a bad day for Ruanxiang to fall, but she just doesn't want to go with Jizhong. In her heart, there is no benefit in being too close to Jizhong. In the past 6 months, although she has gone out for training twice, not 2 months, she has also lived in Tianshan Imperial City for 4 or 5 months. She is very aware of the things in the Imperial City. The women to be married are obsessed with Jizhong and are crazy about him. Besides, the day her soul came back, wasn't it because Jizhong's identity as fiancé was almost killed by those girls? Without the title of fiancé, she is still being plotted by Qin Suiwu. This time she was going into a secret realm, and she didn't want to bring out a lot of unknown enemies. After Chang Feng went back to report, Jizhong lowered his eyes and said, "Let's set off." He naturally understood that Yan Xianglou didn't want to go with him, probably because of the incident where he almost died because of his fiancée's name. Thinking about the fact that Xianxia had broken off the engagement and even killed her, it would really be of no benefit to her to be close to her. In fact, Xuanhuan knew this very well. This was also the main reason why he never contacted her while she lived in the imperial city. Changfeng and Xian looked at each other, and Jin Yutang, the leader of the hidden guards, also appeared. After all, this time was too important, and they had to protect their master. Yan Xiangluo wasn't just perfunctory with Xuanhuan. She did plan to go there tomorrow night. The day after tomorrow was the opening time of the Lingquan secret realm. She couldn't go there at the right time, and she didn't want to wait too early, so she chose the evening before. Go. The day passed quickly. Yan Xiangluo looked at the small courtyard, collected all the things at home again, and locked the door of the small courtyard again. There are no special circumstances for leaving this time. She will come back again before leaving Tianqian continent. Looking at the lock on the courtyard door, Yan Xiangluo took out a piece of wood engraved with mysterious patterns. This was the teleportation mysterious pattern engraved by herself. It was very useful. Inputting spiritual power, the wood block turned into dust, a white light flashed, and Yuan Xiangluo's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already reached the Qifeng Mountains. There were many people going into the mountains, and they were all in a hurry. No one was surprised by the sudden appearance of Yan Xiangluo. At this time, no matter how expensive the mysterious pattern was, it was not unusual to use the teleportation mysterious pattern. However, he was still attracted by Yan Xiangluo's outstanding appearance. Some people who were walking in the air almost fell out of the air, and those who were walking hit a tree. Yan Xiangluo is no longer interested in this. She feels that these people are too weak-minded. Xuanhuan has such an outstanding appearance, but she does not find it remarkable, nor does she suffer any embarrassment. Helplessly, she called out the white eagle, jumped up lightly, landed on the white eagle's back, and flew towards the Qifeng Mountains, but in a different direction than those people. She had placed Bai Diao in the space since she left Xianyuan section, otherwise, Bai Diao would have nowhere to hide in the imperial city, and she didn't contract it, so she couldn't put it in the spiritual pet space. It can only be placed in the Pangu space, just as a companion with the clouds. The afterglow of the setting sun shines on the mountains covered with trees, and the colorful halo accompanied by the setting sun renders the vast sea of clouds and stretches to the sky. On a steep cliff deep in the Qifeng Mountains, strange pines stand tall and ancient vines climb. Various trees and unknown flowers and plants grow under the cliff. A winding river flows quietly under the cliff. There are patches of peach trees growing on both sides of the river. It is the season when peach blossoms are in full bloom. On both sides of the river, a spectacular peach blossom forest is formed on the side, which is so beautiful. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 133. Chapter 133 Ice Crystal. The charming scenery is everywhere you look, and the refreshing evening breeze makes people feel relaxed and happy. The white eagle spread its wings and flew across the beautiful scenery, landing halfway up the cliff. Yan Xiangluo got off the white eagle and took the white eagle into the Pangu space. Then he ran down the cave corridor in a familiar manner. His breath became colder as he went down, and he soon reached the end of the cave. The inside was suddenly open, about the size of 2 or 3 rooms. In the middle was a huge black stone 4 meters long and 3 meters wide, exuding a faint cold air. Because of the cold air on the stone, it was as cold as winter. Yan Xiangluo landed lightly on the cold stone, sat down cross-legged, and started to absorb the cold air in the cold stone with gestures. This was what she discovered when she passed by here a few days ago to find a cave to rest. Although the cold stone was bitingly cold, it was very cold to her. Her cultivation was of great benefit. If the cold stone wasn't so big that it seemed to be fused with the mountain stone, she would have wanted to take it away. Ching Cheng Jushi's little face did not feel any discomfort due to the biting cold of the cold stone. On the contrary, Yan Xiangluo's little face was red at this time, and it was actually a bit more gorgeous than the peach blossoms outside. The whole night passed as she concentrated on practicing, and early the next morning, Yan Xiangluo quit practicing. Last night, she was worried that she would miss the opening time of the secret realm after cultivating to enter the realm, so she released the cloud from the space and let it stare at her. If the secret realm opened in advance, she would call her immediately. If it did not open in advance, she would remind her when the sky was just a little bright. No, Yun Tuan squatted dutifully at the entrance of the cave. When he saw the first light on the horizon, he ran into the cave and woke up Yan Xiangluo from her practice. Yan Xiangluo quit her practice and stretched out. Sure enough, this cold stone was of great help to her practice, but it was a pity that she couldn't take it with her. Standed up, glanced at the cold stone and muttered, "Why is it connected to the mountain stone? Otherwise, the cold stone can be put into the space and used for cultivation." Yun Tuan squatted on her shoulder. Hearing her muttering, he used his spiritual consciousness to communicate with her in confusion. "Master, do you want this cold stone?" "Yes, since the second level appeared, it has been difficult for me to practice, but practicing on the cold stone will be easier. Although it is not as good as before, it is also much faster." Yan Xiangluo sighed. Yun Tuan was speechless. "Master, the reason why this cold stone is bone-chilling is because there is an ice stone crystal inside. Master, as long as the ice crystal is taken away, it is equivalent to taking the cold stone away." In Yun Tuan's eyes, the ice crystals in this cold stone are really not a treasure, otherwise it would not have failed to remind Yu Xiangluo the last time he rested here. But if the master wants it, that's a different matter. Even a scrap of stone must be obtained by the master. Ice stone crystal? Where is it in Han stone? Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up. She felt that love was such a good thing. If she had known that, she would have asked Yun Tuan the last time she came here. In the center of the cold stone, it's 2 meters deep. Right here the cloud jumped from her shoulders and landed on the cold stone, and she pointed at the cold stone with her little paws. 2 meters. This cold stone is extremely hard. I'm afraid it won't be easy to dig out. Otherwise, the ice crystal will be damaged. Yan Xiangluo looked at it worriedly. Yun Tuan was very speechless. The owner looked down on it so much that he stopped talking and started digging with his little paws. Then, under the astonished gaze of Yan Xiangluo with her small round mouth open, a hole was dug out in an instant. Immediately, her palm-sized body got into it, and soon it was no longer visible. In a moment, a palm-sized black oval stone popped out of the hole. Only then did Yan Xiangluo see that it was Yun Tuan who used its small body to push out the ice crystal. The little white dumpling was covered in black because of the black powder from the cold stone. He collapsed next to the cold ice stone crystal. He was not tired from digging the hole, but he was tired from taking the cold ice stone crystal out. Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes smiled like crescent moon eyes. She didn't pick up the ice crystal first, but picked up the cloud and looked around. "Hurry and take a bath." Yun Tuan was speechless. For whom did it become like this? But because its owner didn't pay attention to the ice crystals when he first looked at it, it didn't care. "It's beautiful in my heart. Look, the master likes it the most." Struggling from Yan Xiangluo's hand, the cloud flew out as soon as Yan Xiangluo let go. Only then did Yan Xiangluo pick up the ice crystal. The biting coldness almost froze her hands into ice. With just one thought, the ice crystal was thrown into the Pangu space. This was too cold. Looking at the hole that went straight up and down in the cold stone, Yan Xianglou had no intention of filling it, so she got up and walked out of the cave. The secret realm didn't know what time it would open today, so she couldn't stay in the cave. Leave the cave, climb down the cliff, walk to the peach blossom forest, close your eyes and take a deep breath, it smells so good. I washed my hair in the river and shook it out, and it was dry in an instant. Then I ran back, squatted on her shoulder, and looked at the peach blossoms on the tree. My little nose followed her example and sniffed vigorously. It's quite fragrant, it would be great if I could eat it. Yuntuan's voice sounded in Yan Xiangluo's consciousness, and Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes lit up. Yes, how could she forget that peach blossoms can be made into peach blossom cakes and wine? Thinking of this, she used her spiritual power to create a whirlwind of spiritual power, whirling over the peach blossom forest. The peach blossom petals on the peach tree were picked up by the whirlwind, and then she put them into the storage ring specially used for food. She doesn't have time to do it now. When she comes out of the secret realm, she will make some peach blossom cakes and make peach blossom wine. She thinks it's quite beautiful just thinking about it. The petals must be picked off now, otherwise by the time she comes out of the secret realm, it will be a month later and the flowering period has passed, and there will be no petals left. In the blink of an eye, a large peach blossom forest seemed to have failed, and the fairyland-like beauty was suddenly eclipsed. Yan Xiangluo didn't mind it either. She sat under the peach blossom tree and took out some food to eat with Yuntuan. They still had to eat breakfast. When they were full, they went to the valley over there, which was also where the predicted secret realm would open. After she was full, she sent the clouds into the Pangu space, called out the white eagle, and flew into the valley on the white eagle. At this time, golden light emitted from the distant mountain peaks, half of the sun slowly rose, the sky became brighter, you could see ahead, and the quiet valley became lively. Because of the large number of people, the weeds in the valley have been trampled down. Yan Xiangluo, who often practiced in the valley, felt very emotional. It was only at this time that so many people gathered together in the valley. It was a sight that could only be seen once in 100 years. As soon as Yan Xiangluo entered the valley, she put away the white eagle, landed in the woods, and then walked over, otherwise it would be too ostentatious. Even though she was walking there, her dazzling red dress still shone brightly, but not everyone could see it. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 134. Chapter 134 The Secret Realm Opens. Yan Xiangluo walked out of the woods and appeared in the valley. Instead of joining the crowd, she found an inconspicuous corner and stood there looking at the crowd swarming in front of her. Xianxia, who was also hiding in the corner, sensed something, looked over with inquiring eyes, and saw Yu Xiangluo in a fiery red dress at a glance. Even though she didn't see her face, she knew that this woman was Yan Xiangluo. She was looking for her among the people from the Xuanhuan sect before. She didn't see her and wondered how she could miss the opportunity to enter the secret realm. But she just saw her today. Why didn't she come with the people from the Xuanhuan sect? Just click here, so confident that you won't miss the opening of the secret realm. Yang Xiangluoguang chose a quieter place and didn't even see Jizhozhong and his group standing not far away. Jizhozhong saw her as soon as she appeared. After thinking about it, he walked over. "Miss, did you just arrive this morning?" Jizhozhong wanted to laugh in his heart. The little girl was too calm. He thought she said she didn't want to come early. Why did she have to come here a day in advance? She actually came here that morning. She didn't worry that the secret realm of Lingquan would open early and she would miss it. "I came last night and didn't rest here." Yan Xiangluo came in unexpectedly and ran into Jizhozhong. Really, the less she wanted to get involved with him, the more she seemed to run into him. Xianxia saw Jizhozhong taking the initiative to go to Yan Xiangluo and saying something to her. When Yan Xianglou, who was wearing a red dress, turned her face, her heart sank. No wonder Ji Zhong took such initiative. Yan Xianglou seemed to be more beautiful than before, so beautiful that she, who had always been proud of her beauty, felt ashamed. With such an appearance, she is the most beautiful woman in mainland China. Qin Suiyu suppressed her unwillingness and jealousy. She hated Yu Xianglou very much in her heart. If it hadn't been for her, she wouldn't have ended up in this situation. She has not forgotten that the purpose of entering the secret realm this time is to obtain the spiritual spring or the 9-leaf clover so that she can reshape her spiritual roots and nourish her yuanying, so that her talents can be restored and even better. Therefore, although she wanted to kill Yan Xianglou immediately, she could only endure it. What's more, Ji Zhong is here and she can't do anything. However, if she goes into the secret realm and encounters Yan Xianglou, she has plenty of ways to kill her. She will never let her come out alive. Even if it is impossible for him and Ji Zhong, he will not let Yan Xianglou get it. Yan Xianglou sensed a murderous aura and suddenly turned her head to look, but didn't see anything. She was a little confused. Her feelings were never wrong. Someone must have murderous intentions towards her, but she didn't offend anyone. It seems that you need to be more careful after entering. The enemies hiding in the dark are hard to guard against. Qin Suiyu, who was hiding behind a thick tree, was secretly frightened. How could Yu Xianglou be so vigilant? She dared to know her hatred from so far away. It seems that I can't despise her yet. Ji Zhong saw Yan Xianglou's reaction and asked, "What's wrong?" Yan Xianglou didn't tell him how she felt. She shook her head and said, "It's nothing." Seeing that she didn't say anything, Ji Zhong didn't ask any more, and took out a leather map and handed it to her. This is a map of the secret realm drawn by people who have entered the secret realm of Lingquan in the past. If you take it with you, will you know where to enter the secret realm? To be sure, even people who go in together rarely stay together. Having a map will save some time to get to the location of Lingquan. Thank you. Yan Xianglou was not polite. The map of the secret realm is what everyone needs most right now. Ji Zhong's heart lightened up when he saw Yu Xianglou's eyebrows rising. The Heavenly Master predicts that the secret realm will be opened at the moment when the sun rises completely, Ji Zhong said again. Not everyone knows this news. After all, not all Heavenly Masters are strong enough. At this time in the valley, she couldn't see the sun rising, but she had just arrived and could clearly see that half of the sun was exposed before it set. If this is the case, the secret realm of Lingquan will be opened within a quarter of an hour, Yan Xianglou said. Ji Zhong nodded and said, "The secret realm is opened, and anyone present who meets the conditions to enter will be automatically sucked in. You must be careful of those who are close to you, and don't be attacked by someone with intentions." Although Qin Suiyu hid herself, Ji Zhong was so easy to fool, and his people had already seen her. But he couldn't tell Yan Xianglou directly. After all, he didn't know Qin Suiyu had done anything to her, so he could only remind her like this. Had he not said anything, Yan Xianglou really hadn't thought of this. When she was sucked in, her attention was all on the secret realm, and she was so excited that she wouldn't pay attention to whether there was someone scheming. Thank you for reminding me. Yan Xianglou is not an ungrateful person. No matter why Ji Zhong is so diligent, he has really benefited from it, so he still needs to say thank you. If she can get the spiritual spring and 9-leaf clover, it's not impossible to help him. At least now she doesn't hate Ji Zhong. Sure enough, in less than a quarter of an hour, a light rose above the valley, and a huge light pillar fell from the south side to the north side above the valley, forming a huge light pillar arch on the valley. A deep and distant voice sounded, "Lingquan. The secret realm is opened." As the sound rang out, the people in the mountains were sucked up by the suction force and flew towards the light pillar arch. Ji Zhong and Yan Xianglou were sucked up by the force of the arch almost at the same time, and flew towards the arch. Ji Kong's phoenix eyes stared closely at the graceful figure rising side by side with him. He didn't seem to reject this feeling at all. On the contrary, he liked it very much. Even though the distance was so close, he actually felt that it was still a little far away. Ji Hong shuddered. What was wrong with him? Did he really fall in love with this girl? But he knew very well that Yan Xianglou really didn't seem to care about him. To be precise, she didn't think about her marriage at all. She only wanted to become stronger and then leave here to find her parents. The good mood was replaced by helplessness and confusion. He didn't know what to do with her, and he felt a little depressed for a while. The arch is just above the head, so people in the valley are sucked in instantly. Looking at the arch that was getting closer and closer to her, Yan Xiangluo's calm attitude finally changed. After all, she entered this time with the hope of breaking through the second level of the Pangu flower blooming technique. The secret realm is only open for one stick of incense. If you miss this time, although the light pillar arch is still there, you can no longer enter it. The arch will not disappear until the secret realm is closed a month later and all living people are sent out. When Qin Sui arose, she looked at Yu Xiangluo with a sinister and vicious look. Yuan Xiangluo, you'd better not meet me, otherwise you will die. Yan Xiangluo felt another murderous aura, but a white light flashed in front of her eyes, and her body sank into the arch, and she could not see where the murderous aura came from. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 135. Chapter 135 Falling into a Snake's Den. Also depressed were Changfeng, Musixian, and Jin Yutang. The master actually abandoned them for Miss Yu. Although they would not be in the same place if they stood together and entered, they were guards and had to be separated until the last moment. At this time, they still wanted to stay by their master's side. However, seeing the two figures, one white and one red, rising at the same time, they all had the same feeling in their hearts. What a perfect match! Yan Xiangluo entered the arch and fell downwards. In an instant, she could see something in front of her eyes. Helping's eyes suddenly widened and turned pale with shock. Where is this place? There is a sunken place below. Not a single green plant can be seen. There are all kinds of strange-shaped stones, but they are not as tall as a person. The head of a person who falls below can just be exposed, and the feet are not tall enough to see. To the front. These are not enough to make her so eclipsed. What makes her so eclipsed is that there are so many snakes entwined underneath that you can't even see the heads at a glance. It's impossible to know the specific number of snakes. Goosebumps arose all over her body, and just when she was about to fall into the snake's nest, she entered the space with a thought. I patted my heart and let out a long breath. I saw people falling into the snake den from time to time outside. The human-snake war had already begun, and it was terrible to watch. She covered her mouth. Although she was not misophobic, she could not bear to watch such a scene. It was too disgusting. But it's not okay if she doesn't look. She doesn't hide in space all the time. She doesn't go out and break into the snake den, and she can't experience it in the secret realm, let alone get the spiritual spring and the 9-leaf clover. The moment she entered the secret realm, she felt the rich spiritual energy in the secret realm. It was really a good place for practice and experience. Just bear with it. As more and more people fall outside, the battle between humans and snakes becomes more and more intense, and the number of snakes in the snake nest is also decreasing. After all, the people who can enter the secret realm are all above the spiritual level and can do the same thing. Everyone has all kinds of preparations and sure kill skills. Of course there are also people who are weak and end up in the snake's nest. Half an hour later, the snakes in the snake den retreated to all directions very quickly. In the blink of an eye, there was no living snake left. The only ones left were the bodies of people and snakes, and the living people in a state of embarrassment. Those who fought with the snake didn't feel it, but Yanxiangluo saw the way out. The snake's nest of feelings was a preliminary experience test for those who had just entered. It takes no more than half an hour, and anyone who is not particularly weak can survive it. Seeing those people walking out of the snake den, Yanxiangluo also hurried out. The smell of blood hit her face, making her want to vomit, and she did. It was over, and her breakfast was in vain. Yanxiangluo was helpless and hurried out of the snake nest. Didn't he see that those people were about to leave? You can't fly in the air in the secret realm, and precisely because you can't fly in the air, people who come in must walk down to earth wherever they pass, and they must overcome the dangers they encounter with their own abilities. Only by experiencing life and death situations again and again can they gain experience. People. The snake's nest is a sunken place. When you leave the snake's nest, your eyes suddenly open up. It's like a small world. There are mountains and trees in the distance, but no water. Yanxiangluo saw that all the people leaving the snake's nest were walking in that direction. Helping's eyes narrowed. Where was she going? Just as he was about to take out the map to see how far he was from the spiritual spring, he heard the clouds in the space shout, "Master, go to the right. There is a treasure ahead on the right." Yanxiangluo's mouth twitched. Can it still sense a treasure outside in front of it in space? Thinking that the clouds can see through the cold stone and accurately find the ice crystals, it becomes clear that the clouds may not be limited by space. Although the main purpose of coming in was to get the spiritual spring and 9-leaf clover, she would not miss out on other treasures on the way. After all, she couldn't waste time and had to experience the past along the way. Xuanhuan shouted again, "Master, let me go out, so that I can better perceive the location of the treasure." As soon as Yanxiangluo thought, a cloud as big as a fist came out, and climbed onto Yanxiangluo's shoulders, squatted on it, and commanded, "It's right in front, not far away, about 30 miles away." Yanxiangluo's face was covered with black lines. Did you know that this was a secret realm? She couldn't fly in the air, nor could she use flying spirit beasts. She had to rely on her feet to walk for 30 miles, so why wasn't she far away? Having vomited her breakfast and her stomach was empty, Yanxiangluo didn't want to go hungry, so she took out a piece of snack she had made, broke off a piece and gave it to Xuanhuan. Zhizhong held a long sword in his hand, blood dripping from the tip of the sword. There was a huge monster lying in front of him. As soon as he came in, he encountered such a powerful monster, and he immediately went on a killing spree. His heart, which had been a little boring before, felt much better. He narrowed his eyes and looked forward, wondering where the girl had fallen. He came to the secret realm not for the experience, but for the spiritual spring and the 9-leaf clover. Ever since he became the regent, everyone thought that his previous frailty and illness were an act. Only he and his own people knew that it was not an act, but that it was caused by fetal poison, or that he had practiced ancient techniques to suppress the poison, and his body was restored. He got better, but the fetal poison was still there and could not be removed. If Yanxiangluo hadn't suppressed the poison for him, he didn't know if he would have had the chance to get the 2 circles and the 9-leaf clover. This opening of the secret realm is his only chance. As long as he gets one of the 9-leaf clover and the spiritual spring, he can detoxify. Thinking of the girl who likes to wear red dresses and has no interest in him at all, Zhizhong raised the corners of his lips in a rare way. For the first time in his life, he had what he wanted, so a healthy body was a must. Juyuko and Lingquan, it is inevitable to win. Stretching out his hand, an old leather map appeared in his hand, exactly the same as the one he gave to Yanxiangluo. After looking at the location, he walked in one direction. At the same time, there are many people in the secret realm who come for the spiritual spring and 9-leaf clover. They all have their own means to obtain the map of the secret realm. After all, even if there is no means, as long as there are spiritual stones, they can still be bought from places that sell information. Map: many people are walking in the same direction at this time. Yan Xianglue walked all day long, and at night, she finally reached the place where Yun Tuan said there was a treasure. It is a piece of rugged hills without a single tree or grass. At this time, there were 30 or 50 people sitting scattered in various places on the hill that could be protected from the wind. Several people worked in groups, looking after each other. There were also people walking alone, who would watch carefully when they saw anyone coming. Yan Xianglue was wearing a red dress that was eye-catching. Those people's eyes immediately fell on her and they couldn't look away. The reason was that this little girl was so pretty. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 136. Chapter 136 Strange Dream. After all, the people who enter the Lingquan secret realm are not only people from the Tianshun Empire, but also people from all empires on the entire continent. The secret realm is opened once every 100 years, but the location is not fixed. It may be opened in that empire. Therefore, the Continental Empire has reached a unified agreement. No matter which empire it appears in, qualified monks from the entire continent can enter. There is really no one among these people who knows her. Seeing that she was alone and so good looking, it was inevitable that there would be people who wanted to have an idea of her, not many for wealth but mostly for sex. Although not all of them liked her, the looks from just a few of them made her uncomfortable. Yan Xianglue glanced at those people coldly, and her strength at the 9th level of the spiritual level burst out instantly, and the powerful pressure immediately relieved those who wanted to take advantage of her. The peak of the 9th level of the spiritual level. Although the people here are all spiritual level cultivation, and they can't get in if they are not spiritual level cultivation, most of them are at the 5th or 6th level of the spiritual level. Some people even break through the spiritual level and exceed the spiritual level. There are only a few people at the 6th level of the spiritual level, and their moral character is not that bad. Especially the few people who are trying to take advantage of Yu Xianglue. Their cultivation level is not as high as others, but still taking advantage of others is almost as good as death. Although it is said that it is romantic to die under a peony flower, in fact no one is willing to die for a peony flower. They all doubted in their hearts that it was impossible for a teenage girl to have such a strong cultivation level. This was probably the old witch who was good at looking good. She was definitely much older than them in actual age, so she could only use this kind of thinking. Soothe their restless hearts that dare not act. It's no wonder they think so. It's not difficult for people with good talent to break through the king level at a young age, but most people only break through the king level in their 20s and 30s. Women in their 20s and 30s are considered old in their eyes. After applying pressure, Yan Xianglue ignored them and followed Yun Tuan's prompts to walk to a hill, sit down, take out a food box, and eat dinner with Yun Tuan. Although Yun Tuan ate delicious food, he didn't understand why the owner didn't hurry up and hunt for the treasure. Yan Xianglue rubbed its soft belly with her fingers. There are so many people, are you afraid that others won't know there is a treasure here? They are too weak to defeat their master, Yun Tuan said confidently. Your master is a lady and is not suitable for extreme behavior, such as fighting with others. Yan Xianglue felt that playing with Yun Tuan was a pleasant thing. The clouds are speechless, lady. Can't fight with others. Does the owner have a problem with her own understanding? The secret realm is very dangerous at night, so people who come in will not rush at night, but will find a relatively safe place to gather together and rest. After all, more people are safer. It was completely dark, and many people came one after another during this period. After all, there was no place to rest around. Visually, this was the only place that was safer for the time being, so they all chose a place to rest. Moreover, it is relatively safer when there are more people. The most indispensable thing in the secret realm is powerful monsters. Xianxia originally planned to go into the space to practice at night during this period of time in the secret realm. The main reason is that he can practice with peace of mind. In this way, practicing for one night will make him more energetic than sleeping for one night. He will be energetic and wait to win the spiritual spring and 9-leaf clover. Xiang, but there are so many people here, she can't disappear into thin air, she can only make do with it. As for the treasure Xuanhuan mentioned, it won't be too late for her to look for it after everyone has left tomorrow morning. She wouldn't really sleep with peace of mind when there were so many people, so she just sat cross-legged and practiced. The spiritual energy here is so rich, not practicing is not a waste of time. After all, there is only 1 month. Like her, there are many people who practice without sleeping, and they get along well with them. Only those who have a partner they can trust take shifts off. After practicing for 2 hours, near midnight, Xianxia felt a little sleepy. As soon as she had this idea, she closed her eyes and fell asleep. It's just that the spiritual energy around her is still moving. Even if someone looks at her, they think she is still practicing. As soon as she fell asleep, she entered a dream. No one told her, so she knew naturally that the place she was in was the 9 heavens that everyone longed for. She watched everything that happened in a spiritual state. The clouds formed by spiritual energy surrounded a beautiful world, and a battle that was close to destroying the world had just ended. Under the evergreen trees that live as long as the world and bloom once in 1,000 years, a man wearing a white brocade robe stained with blood is holding a dying woman in a red dress in his arms. Because of the war, the delicate flowers on the evergreen branches turned into a rain of flowers and fell, falling on and around the embracing men and women. They were surrounded by many people not far away, and they all looked like dogs, but they were doing extremely vicious things. Xianxia couldn't see the faces of the men and women clearly, but she could clearly sense their emotional changes. The man lowered his eyes and glanced at the woman in his arms, his eyes full of affection, and said softly, "It is said that as long as a man and a woman in love make a vow when the evergreen trees fall, they will see each other again in the next life." Life after life, the woman responded to him with a bright smile and struggled to say 4 words. "Never leave, never abandon." A flash of pain flashed across the man's eyes, and he said these 4 words solemnly. The 2 of them spoke and the vows were made. In an instant, the falling flowers were flying, forming a beautiful vortex of petals around the 2 of them. Hand over the things. The people besieging him didn't care at all about the deep love between the 2, and their eyes were full of crazy greed. The man held the woman's hand tightly, and looked at the people surrounding them opposite, his eyes bursting with determination. "You can't get it." When he finished speaking, he raised his hand, and a purple bead containing endless spiritual energy was thrown out. It fell into the clouds at an extremely fast speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The people on the other side rushed over angrily. Some people who were unwilling to give up rushed down from the air in the direction where the beads fell, and some people all killed the men and women under the tree. At this time, a strong golden light erupted from the man's body, and those people shouted in horror, "Soul curse!" He turned around and ran away, but unfortunately, it was too late. Snow White Yun and everyone, including the people who had just gone down to chase the beads, were all hit hard by the huge power of the soul curse. The clouds dispersed and then slowly gathered together, leaving nothing behind except the petals flying down to the 9 heavens and the evergreen trees that still stood no matter how many winds and rains they experienced. Xianxia could clearly see that the falling petals were entwined with golden light, and the golden light was also entangled with some purple. Xianxia stared blankly at the empty tree, as if the infatuated man and woman had never existed. Seeing a scene that a man's love and the greedy of the woman's greed for wealth was shocked by the scene. Is there really a love of the sea and death in this world? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 137. Chapter 137 is so weird. My father and mother had a very good relationship. In order to save my mother, my father resolutely left her behind to save my mother, knowing that her chances of survival were slim. In her opinion, the relationship between father and mother is a life or death love. Now in her dream, she saw with her own eyes another man and woman who were deeply in love with each other for eternity. It would be a lie not to envy them. Although most monks live a lonely life, who would want to be lonely if they could have someone by their side in life and death? Subsequently, she wandered in that ethereal fairyland-like place and heard the legend of the purple bead that was thrown down from the ninth heaven by a man. It is said that the purple bead is a divine bead formed at the beginning of the world and contains endless aura and vitality. It is easy for those who obtain the divine beads to practice and can run rampant in the ninth heaven. If you can get the divine pearl to recognize its owner and refine it, you can get a mysterious opportunity. In the dream, the soul cultivators in the 3,000 small worlds under the 9 heavens also knew the legend about the divine bead, but it was getting more and more outrageous. But no matter what, those who knew were looking for the purple divine bead. Dreaming of reaching the sky in one step. Xianxia didn't take it seriously. How could the divine bead be so magical? Didn't the couple get it? But they didn't end up dying together. She felt that getting the divine beads was not a good thing, but a hot potato and a life-threatening talisman. Thinking of this, she suddenly woke up from her dream, opened her eyes, and looked around carefully. How could she fall asleep in this situation and have such a dream? I feel like something is wrong. The people in the resting place were very quiet. They were practicing and resting. She looked at the time and saw that it was midnight. At this moment, a gust of cool wind suddenly hit her, which made her shiver. Such a cold wind? Xianxia looked around vigilantly, and suddenly saw a hole on the side of the rock wall on the hill behind her, from where the cool breeze came out. Those who were practicing and sleeping were also awakened by the cool breeze. Everyone stood up and looked around cautiously. It was too dark, so I could only rely on my own cultivation to see the surroundings at night, but I saw nothing. The cool breeze comes from here, a man not far from Xianxia shouted, and his direction was exactly opposite the entrance of the cave. Everyone followed the voice and came to the person who spoke, and saw a hole exposed on the side of the hill where Xianxia was, allowing one person to enter and exit. The cool breeze came from this hole. Why is there a hole here? We haven't discovered it before. Absolutely not before. We had explored all the hills in this area when we arrived. Then the entrance to the cave appeared suddenly. This is a secret realm, it's not a normal place. Maybe there are some treasures here that are destined to us. A dark light flashed through Xianxia's eyes. Something was wrong, something was definitely wrong. She had just finished a strange dream, and a hole appeared here. It was so weird. She communicated with the cloud, "Are you sure there is a treasure down here and it's not a trap?" "Master, everyone knows that opportunities and risks coexist," Xuanhuan said in confusion. "All genius treasures are guarded by spiritual beasts or monsters. If you want to get them, you must pay something, and you must take risks. Just like when the master got the fire bead, didn't he kill the monster guarding the fire bead and get it after his spiritual consciousness was injured?" Xianxia thought of the dream she had inexplicably fell asleep, and she always felt that something was wrong, so she immediately refused. "I'd better not take the risk. If Lingquan and 9-leaf grass were still worth the risk for her, there is nothing to give up now." It was important for her to safely pass the second level of Panguhui Kai Kung Fu. After finishing speaking, he stepped back decisively to make room for those who were curious. Xuanhuan became anxious. "Master, this treasure is definitely the best treasure in the world. Master, don't regret it?" Xianxia was unmoved. "It's important to save your life." The clouds were jumping around anxiously on her shoulders. The master didn't seem to be greedy for life or afraid of death during the training. They also hunted for treasures in Wanghai Forest. Aren't the masters all in high spirits? Why are they like this? When I met the real one and only treasure in the world, I shrank away. Master, this is the treasure with the strongest aura that I have ever experienced in my life. It is not only aura, but also has a strong vitality. Master, I will really regret missing it. Vitality. Yan Xianglue was stunned. She didn't care about the spiritual energy. After all, the spiritual energy in Pangu space was not as strong as usual, but she couldn't ignore the vitality. Except for the 5 elements beads and wooden beads, there is no treasure in this world that can have vitality. Only living things have vitality. But she is an alchemist, and she knows very well how important vitality is to an alchemist, and it can save lives at critical moments. Although she has wooden beads, who would object to having so many life-saving treasures? His apricot eyes turned rapidly, looking at the people squeezing in front of them, wondering whether they should go in and try their luck. I have to say that she was a little tempted. Since you meet them, go and have a look, follow them in, and take the treasures if you have a chance. If you don't, you won't regret it. If you encounter danger, she won't fight hard. Protecting your life is the most important thing. After thinking about it, she stood behind the crowd and waited. She didn't want to stand out. At this time, there were many people who stood out. Sure enough, within a short time, several people took out various lighting treasures and entered first. Although the person walking in front is in danger, he is also the most likely to get it when an opportunity arises. Someone went in, and the people outside were also ready to make a move. Anyway, there were people exploring the way ahead, and they didn't want to miss the opportunity. After all, they came in for 2 purposes, experience and treasure hunting, and they went down one after another. Seeing that everyone had gone down, Yan Xianglue took out a luminous pearl, wrapped it in a piece of red gauze, tied it around her waist to illuminate it, and went in. Seeing that she finally entered, Yun Tuan breathed a sigh of relief and squatted on her shoulder motionless. After Yuan Xiang fell in, she discovered that there was a bumpy corridor inside, and no light could be seen in front of it, which meant that there was a curve in the corridor, which blocked the light for those who entered. Yan Xianglue was not in a hurry, she let go of her consciousness and was alert as she walked. After turning a corner, she still couldn't see any light, so she walked inside. After turning 6 turns in total, although she still couldn't see the light, she heard the sounds of fighting and fighting inside. Have you found a treasure? Yan Xianglue continued to walk forward, and finally saw a bright light, which was at the entrance of the corridor. She stood at the entrance of the corridor and looked. Below was a huge pit, 6 meters high from where she stood. There are actually more than 10 meters deep below. Standing at the entrance of the hole about halfway up, she felt that the space was empty and a little scary, which made her unconsciously roll her arms. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 138. Chapter 138 Unparalleled Baby. The sound of fighting came from below, and those who entered first were grabbing treasures below. Because everyone was carrying lighting objects, Yan Xianglue could see clearly what was going on below even if she stood on them. There are a dozen large boxes below, all of which have been pried open. Inside are all kinds of treasures, mostly crystal stones. Although there are a lot of treasures, no one is greedy, so there will be fights and fights. Yan Xianglue was not interested in grabbing things from these people. She asked Yun Tuanqiao, the treasure you mentioned is also in the box. She would never grab it if it was in the box. Yun Tuan pointed with his little paw, on top, that ball. Yan Xianglue looked along its paws, and her face was covered with black lines. The cloud was actually pointing to a gray ball hanging in the center. If it hadn't pointed it out, she wouldn't have noticed there was another ball there. The ball, after all, was too small, not much bigger than her fist. Are you sure that's a treasure? Yan Xianglou looked at it and was speechless. Even if it is a treasure, how can she get it? Let's not mention that she has not broken through to the king level and cannot fly in the air. Even if she can fly in the secret realm, she cannot fly in the air. Although it is only 6 meters high, it is far away. It is at least 10 meters away from where she is to the center ball at the top. How can she get the ball if she cannot fly? Yun Tuan jumped up anxiously. Master, believe me, that is a peerless treasure, there will never be another like it in the world. The treasure that is unique between heaven and earth? Then how can I get it? Seeing Yun Tuan being so anxious, Yan Xianglou thought that although Yun Tuan was a little cute, he was still very knowledgeable and looked down upon the treasure in her eyes. Yan Xianglou chose I believe it, but I believe it, and I really have no idea how to get her for a while. I'll get it. Yun Tuan immediately offered himself. Can you lift it? Yan Xianglou lifted the fist-sized cloud on her shoulder. She couldn't even lift the fire beads. She was so tired when the ice crystal was pushed out of the hole. Although this one is not as big as the ice crystal, looks no smaller than a fire bead. The master throws me up, I swing the ball to the master, and the master catches it. Yun Tuan came up with an idea. Why are you coming back? Yan Xianglou was speechless. She threw it over and said, why are you coming back? Master, just take me back to the spiritual pet space, Yun Tuan said matter-of-factly. Yan Xianglou's eyes lit up. Yes, no matter where the spiritual pet is, the owner can take it back to the spiritual pet space at any time. Who said Yun Tuan is cute? Isn't this very smart? Can you swing here accurately? Yan Xianglou was still a little worried. Yes, Yun Tuan said persistently. Yan Xianglou saw that Yun Tuan looked like he would rather take risks than give up, and he knew in his heart that this ball, whose original appearance could not be seen, was probably a unique treasure that was unique in the world. Okay, get ready, I'll throw you over. As soon as Yan Xianglou finished speaking, the cloud automatically jumped into her palm. Yan Xianglou estimated the distance, shook the weight of the cloud, and used her spiritual power to throw the cloud onto the ball. Even if she throws it incorrectly, it doesn't matter. She can take the cloud back to the spirit pet space and won't be able to drop it. The little white dumpling flew out, accurately grabbed the rope-like thing with beads, and then grabbed the rope and swung it, faster and faster. The gray ball below was slowly swung up. The ashes kept falling down. The people below were so smoky that no one felt the ash. In addition, there was no light above, so no one noticed the movements of the master and the pet. Yan Xianglou stared closely at the movements of the cloud and saw the cloud swaying a few times. She must have felt that the force was enough. She pulled the rope with her paws and kicked the ball with her other two paws. Yan Xianglou saw the ball break away from the rope and fly towards her direction. But the clouds were a little weaker, and the ball was still 3 meters away from Yan Xianglou and was about to fall. If it fell, it would be difficult to retrieve it. It was too inconspicuous. Besides, with the lower part tied like that, she didn't really want to get it down. With a thought, he quickly took out a piece of red yarn, threw it out, accurately wrapped the ball, and pulled it back. At the same time, with a thought, he took the cloud hanging on the rope back to the spiritual pet space. Before she had time to see what the ball was, she felt the whole space tremble. Oh my God, is this place going to collapse? The vibration was sudden and violent, and the people below stopped fighting. Yan Xianglou threw the ball into the space, turned around and ran into the corridor. If he ran slowly, he would be buried alive. Master, send me into the space. Yun Tuan, who entered the spiritual pet space for the first time, shouted. This place is going to collapse, and your master is running for his life. Yan Xianglou didn't dare to give up at all. The corridor had 6 turns. The gravel above her head kept falling, large and small. If it hit her head and body, she would be injured. She used her metal power to form a golden shield, blocking it above her head to avoid being hurt by the gravel. Moreover, she had already heard someone running into the corridor behind her. Who wouldn't run for their lives? If they caught up and squeezed her, the chance of running out would be even smaller. Even though clouds are not limited by space, the spiritual pet space is the only exception, because that is the space for it, and it really cannot see the situation outside. However, after listening to what Xianxia said, it understood her situation. The key to her master's escape was to calm down. Xianxia swore that she had never run so hard since she was a child. After all, she was extremely talented and started using spiritual power at the age of 3. Even in the past 3 years of experience, I have never been so embarrassed when encountering monsters. The corridor is so narrow and has so many curves that it is impossible to use spiritual power to run and can only rely on pure leg power. Finally ran out, she did not stop, chose a direction and continued running. She didn't think that after the collapse below, it would be safer to run further away if only that area collapsed. Sure enough, before she could run far, she heard the sound of a large-scale collapse behind her. She didn't look back and ran for half an hour before stopping. Then she looked back and saw nothing and no one. I don't know how many people can escape from below. Alas, greed can really kill you. It was convenient for her that there was no one around, so she slipped into the space, neatly took off her dirty coat and skirt, and lay down on the comfortable big bed that her parents had built for her wearing only her underwear. She was frightened, and tired. She touched her beating little heart and was frightened to death. After resting for a while, she remembered the ball that Xuanhuan had brought back to her. She did not forget Xuanhuan and moved it from the spiritual pet space first. As soon as it came over, the clouds pounced on the dirty ball, and the snow-white fur suddenly became dirty. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 139. Chapter 139 Like picking up for free. Xianxia picked it up and dusted it with disgust. Why are you so anxious? You can't wait until I clean it up before you care about it? Xuanhuan struggled to hit the ball hard, and Xianxia was speechless. She used her spiritual power to get rid of the ash on the ball. This time, she actually removed a thick layer of mud scab, revealing the ball inside. No, it should be a bead. Xianxia looked at the beads in her hand in shock, the purple beads. Isn't this the divine bead she saw in her dream that was thrown down from the 9th heaven by that man? Oh my God, the people of Xianxia and the 3,000 small worlds are looking for the divine pearl that is crazy in the secret realm of Lingquan, and they got it into their hands in this way? Suddenly, she felt that everything she had just experienced was nothing. Apart from escaping, she really didn't encounter any big dangers. She felt like she picked up this divine pearl for free. Are you cheating on your luck? I opened the Pangu space, got the fire beads and the wood beads among the 5 elements beads, and now I got the divine beads. Oh my God, am I not dreaming? Master, make a contract quickly, Xuanhuan shouted anxiously. Only by making a contract, this treasure belongs to the owner, and no one can take it away. Xianxia thought of the legend about the divine bead in her dream. Not everyone can contract the divine bead, otherwise, the man would not have thrown the divine bead down from the 9th heaven. Do you have that much luck? Now that the divine beads are in her hands, wouldn't it be foolish not to try them? What if she can make a contract? If she can make a contract, she can refine them. If one day she completely refines the divine beads, will her dream of becoming a strong person come to an end? It can be achieved. Also, can I pass the second level of the Pangu flower blooming technique? In an instant, Xianxia was filled with pride, feeling that the road to becoming a strong person was spread out in front of her, waiting for her to embark on it. But, how to make a contract with the divine beads? My heart's blood, master, make a contract with my heart's blood, Xuanhuan reminded her. Yanxiangluo glanced at Xuanhuan. Although he didn't remember what kind of beast he was, Xuanhuan knew a lot at the critical moment. Her heart's blood is not inexhaustible. When Pangu space opened, it automatically absorbed a drop of her heart's blood. Now she has to use her heart's blood to make a contract. It won't hurt her at all, because it succeeded. The blood was not lost, but if she failed, missing a drop of her heart's blood would do great harm to her body. Yanxiangluo hesitated for a moment, just for a moment. Since she had such a dream before getting the divine bead, did it mean that she was destined to have the divine bead? Otherwise, why has the divine bead never been found, yet it was so easy for me to get it? Although he was almost buried underground, it was still too easy for Yanxiangluo to get the divine pearl in this way. Didn't you see that the man and woman paid the price with their lives and failed to keep the divine pearl? Be cruel and give it a try. Giving up without trying will become a knot in your mind. If you try and fail, you won't be troubled anymore. If you meet a destined person in the future, it's okay to give it to him. She's not greedy. With this thought in mind, Yanxiangluo held the divine bead in one hand and turned her other hand into a sword finger, forcing a drop of her heart's blood to drip on the divine bead. The bright red blood fell on the divine bead, and slid roundly on the divine bead. Just when it was about to slide down, the divine bead burst out with purple light. The drop of heart blood was absorbed by the divine bead, and the purple light flourished. Xiangluo's consciousness lit up, and then the divine bead disappeared. The contract was successful. Yangxiang searched for it in her consciousness, but couldn't find the divine bead. Her heart felt hot again. She opened her clothes and took a look, and was speechless. Why do both of these beads like the flower-shaped jade pendant that carries her Pangu technique? The contract with the divine bead was indeed successful, and it was now embedded in the flower-shaped heart of the jade pendant, as if it was originally the decoration on it. In such a comparison, the fire beads and wooden beads of the 5 elements beads are not so dazzling. Yanxiangluo looked at the 3 remaining empty petals. These 3 positions were obviously where the other 3 beads of the 5 elements bead were. Does she still need to find the other 3 5-element beads? Just when she was still stunned, the Pangu space suddenly shook. Yanxiangluo was shocked and looked around. What happened? The gray atmosphere in the originally gray space quickly dissipated, revealing the black earth where it disappeared, and the sky became brighter. When all the gray atmosphere disappeared, although the space was still very empty, with nothing but the endless black land, it was a little closer to the outside world. Xuanhuan squatted on her shoulders, looked into the space, and said happily, "Master, I was right, it is really a unique treasure in the world." Well, you're right. Yanxiangluo understood that the reason why the space changed was indeed related to the divine beads. However, now that I have contracted the divine bead, how can I refine the divine bead? Sigh, that dream didn't say how to refine the divine beads. She didn't want to think about it anymore. She was tired from all the trouble. She looked at the sky outside and saw that there was still an hour and a half before dawn. She should sleep for a while. Yanxiangluo lay down on the comfortable big bed and fell asleep. Xuanhuan nestled beside her pillow, absorbing the spiritual energy in the space and practicing. At this time, Xianxia stood beside the collapsed ruins, holding a mysterious pattern in her hand with a gloomy look on her face. She used the spirit-chasing mysterious pattern to find the treasure with the richest aura in the secret realm. She chased her here. When she arrived at the place, why did the aura treasure suddenly disappear? Looking at the ruins in front of her, she realized that something must have happened before, but there was no one around. There was no one she could ask if she wanted to inquire. At this moment, she saw a hand stretching out from under the ruins, and there was a living person. She immediately walked over, raised her hand, and brushed away the rubble, revealing the upper body of a person who was still alive. She squatted down and asked, "What happened here? How could it collapse?" The man's breath was very weak. There were more than a dozen boxes of treasures down there. Many people were grabbing them, and then they collapsed and many people didn't come out. Xianxia narrowed her eyes and summarized the meaning of this person's words. There was a treasure below. It collapsed and someone came out alive. There is no breath of the spiritual treasure here, which means that the spiritual treasure was taken away. She doesn't care about other treasures, she only cares about the treasure she perceives to have strong aura and vitality. She stood up, moved her fingers, and another spirit-chasing mysterious pattern appeared, but she could no longer feel the breath and direction of the spiritual energy treasure. "Help me!" The man with half his body exposed stretched out his hand and shouted with great effort. Xianxia glanced at him and walked away. Such a weak person was not worthy of her rescue, so she didn't need to waste any effort. The man watched Xianxia's white dress fluttering away in despair. He looked like a fairy, but how could he act so viciously and not even bother to save him? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 140. Chapter 140, Falling in Love with the Clouds. Just when the man was desperate, the stone that was pressing down on his lower body suddenly fell. With a light touch on his body, the man immediately climbed up. After climbing up, he looked back and saw that there was a hole underneath, which was just right. The stone that was weighing him down slipped. I couldn't help but sigh that my fate was so great. Hurriedly taking out a healing elixir and taking it, thinking that he should be careful next, as staying alive is the most important thing. There is also that woman who refuses to save her. If he meets her again, she will definitely look good. Xianxia didn't know that the person she sentenced to death actually survived and later caused her a lot of trouble. She was in a very depressed mood now. In order to gain a big harvest in the secret realm, she asked the clan elder for more than a dozen spirit-chasing mysterious patterns. She used 8 of them to finally catch the extremely powerful treasure in the secret realm. Someone got on first. Unfortunately, she couldn't find this person yet. She had a feeling that she had missed a big opportunity, which could change her life and her destiny. The more I thought about it, the more depressed she became. It seemed that since Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhozhong broke off their engagement, nothing had gone well for her. Thinking of Yan Xiangluo again, Xianxia gritted her teeth and said, "We must find her and let her stay in the secret realm forever." He took a deep breath. There was no suitable place to spend the night around. He couldn't stay. He took out the map and looked at it. He walked towards the direction of Lingquan, which happened to be the direction that Yan Xiangluo was walking. Yan Xiangluo slept for half the night, and Xianxia walked for half the night, so she had already walked in front of Yan Xiangluo. After Yan Xiangluo washed up, had breakfast, left the space with the clouds, and continued walking forward. The direction was still chosen by Yun Tuan. Yun Tuan said that there were treasures ahead, but the distance was a bit far and it would take a long time to walk. She took out the map and looked at it. It was in the same direction as Lingquan, so let's go. Since there was no target anyway, Yan Xiangluo listened to Yun Tuan and continued walking forward. Yun Tuan was a little expert in treasure hunting. Did he find the divine pearl even though he didn't listen to him? At this time, she didn't know that the clouds were talking about treasures, namely the spiritual spring and the 9-leaf clover. However, she was not in a hurry and practiced while walking. Such rich spiritual energy would not be wasted if she did not practice. During her lunch break, she thought about how to refine the divine beads. The divine beads, fire beads, and wooden beads are all inlaid on her jade pendant flowers. The fire beads and wooden beads do not need to be refined, and she can use their power. The stronger she is, the more powerful the fire beads and wooden beads she uses. The more power, Therefore, she did not need to study the fire beads and wooden beads. She was worried about how to refine the divine beads. As soon as she thought about it, the divine bead appeared in her consciousness. She looked at the divine bead in surprise. Does refining the divine bead require divine consciousness? Thinking about it, she extracted a trace of her consciousness to wrap around the divine bead, and then her consciousness penetrated into the divine bead little by little. She was pleasantly surprised to find that the divine bead began to accept her divine consciousness, but the penetration of her divine consciousness was extremely slow. As she increases the amount of spiritual consciousness, it penetrates faster, but it is only relatively speaking. She had been injured in a battle with a monster in order to get the fire bead. Although it had been repaired and expanded due to the contracted fire bead, she did not dare to use her mind a lot. This was a secret realm and there would be danger at any time. Appear. After refining for a while, she regained her consciousness. As soon as the divine consciousness left, the divine bead immediately returned to the heart of the flower jade pendant. Knowing how to refine it, Xianxia was not in a hurry. She took out the food and started eating. Xuanhuan squatted on the food box, holding the pieces of meat and eating. The place where Xianxia rested was a flat area with several trees growing on it. After a while, people passing by were sitting under the trees to rest. Seeing Xianxia as a beautiful little girl and alone, they all looked at her. They were especially surprised to see her pet. They had never seen such a small pet before, and they didn't sense any spiritual energy fluctuations on her body. It was obviously not a war beast, but they were all curious about what kind of cloud it was. 3 men and 1 woman were sitting under one of the trees, and they looked like they were together. The woman looked at Xianxia's face with jealousy, and her eyes fell on Xuanhuan squatting on her shoulders. This spiritual pet was so cute. She wants to. Brother, I want that spiritual pet, the woman said coquettishly to the man beside her. The man glanced at the spiritual pet on Xianxia's shoulder and asked, "What do you want a useless spiritual pet for?" "It's so cute, brother, I want it," the woman continued to act coquettishly. Xianxia ignored all eyes, took out the food and ate quietly, not knowing that trouble was coming. When Xuanhuan came here against the scorching sun, he immediately saw Xianxia in a red dress, and a dark light flashed in his eyes. He was born into the royal family, because his mother was the queen and he was the eldest son, so his father made him the prince despite his reluctance. As a prince, the first thing an unpopular prince has experienced since childhood is his eyesight. When he saw her for the first time at Thousand Poison Peak, he felt that this girl was special at just one glance. You say she has a bad reputation, but when you see her you will believe that it is a rumor. You say she likes to wear red dresses and has a flamboyant temperament, but what you see is that she is quiet and indifferent. You say she is a 5-spirited person. She is a useless person, but her cultivation in 3 years is beyond the reach of her peers. You said that her parents are gone and she is disliked by her family and it is difficult to live alone, but she lives a happy and free life. No matter how you think about it, you feel that these should not happen to a person, especially a teenage girl with a stunning face. I heard from my younger brother that she is not only good at refining alchemy but also very good at refining poison. The last time she was poisoned, she needed the medicinal materials that her brother got from her. And his skill with silver needles is even more admirable. If these were not insiders, no one would have thought just by looking at her that she was actually a girl like a cornucopia. Yes, he finally found a word that could describe her, cornucopia. He glanced at the people around her who were constantly spying on her, and then at Xianxia who was calmly eating and entertaining her pets, and the corners of her lips curled up. He walked over and said, "Girl, what a coincidence." Yunfan saw him when he arrived in Baitang, and nodded to him. Baitang Yunfan was not angry with her lukewarm attitude and sat down to rest 2 steps away from her under the tree where she was. At noon, the weather is sultry and hot, so a place with shade from trees is considered good. When I finally see the shade of a tree, I sit down and rest for a while. Bai Tangyunfen took out the food and ate it slowly, looking at Xianluo while eating. Bai Tangyunfen's inquiring gaze was naturally noticed by Yan Xianluo, and she glanced at him. She didn't see other people's obsession with her beauty in his eyes, but her senses about him were okay. End of this chapter.